Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on Tuesday expressed a desire for Florida to allow cryptocurrency to pay taxes in the state. The governor's comments came during a news conference in Wesley Chapel where he signed a financial literacy curriculum bill into law. The bill adds personal finance education to high school graduation requirements. Quote, it was kind of mentioned in some of the comments, cryptocurrency, for example, we are working and I've told state agencies, figure out a way that if a business wants to pay tax in cryptocurrency to Florida, we should be willing to accept that, DeSantis said. Quote, so we're working through that. The governor said he had allocated some funding in his proposed budget to experiment with blockchain technology, but the legislature didn't pick up the initiative for the coming fiscal year's appropriations. Still, DeSantis said cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, among others, are something Florida's government should be willing to accept for payment of tax. However, he pushed back on recent federal suggestions to potentially make the US dollar into a digital currency. President Joe Biden had proposed the potential for doing so in an executive order issued on March 9th. His order emphasized the need for America to step forward and look at how the economy is developing. It asked the Federal Reserve to explore how the US could use its own digital currency or digitize the dollar. The order is focused on what it refers to as combined market capitalization. It said that from November 2016 to November 2021, the digital marketplace grew from a $14 billion industry to $3 trillion in non-state issued digital assets. Those assets, per DeSantis' commentary, are decentralized or not controlled by an institution or nation, state, or group. The statement goes as follows. Today, President Biden signed an executive order to establish the first ever comprehensive federal digital asset strategy for the United States. The EO will help position the U.S. to keep playing a leading role in the innovation and governance of the digital assets ecosystem at home and abroad in a way that protects consumers, is consistent with our democratic values, and advances U.S. global competitiveness. This EO marks an intensification of our efforts to promote responsible innovation in the digital asset space. Innovation that works for all Americans, protects our national security interests, and contributes to our economic competitiveness and growth. Fundamentally, an American approach to digital assets is one that encourages innovation but mitigates the risks to consumers, investors, and businesses, broader financial stability, and the environment. We are clear-eyed that financial innovation of the past has too often not benefited working families, while exacerbating inequality and increasing systematic financial risk. This history underscores the need to build robust consumer and economic protections into digital asset development. The approach outlined in the EO will reinforce U.S. leadership in the global financial system and safeguard the long-term efficacy of critical national security tools like sanctions and anti-money laundering frameworks. To these ends, the order identifies the administration's policy priorities both for cryptocurrencies and any future U.S. central bank digital currency to help guide the evolution of the digital asset ecosystem in a way that is consistent with our values. Governments alone cannot solve these problems, and definitely not a government that operates in silos. This EO is product of months of work with stakeholders across government, industry, advocacy, academia, and international allies and partners to identify actions we can take to foster responsible innovation in the digital asset ecosystem. Its implementation will leverage the knowledge and distinct expertise of a broad range of stakeholders across the White House, executive departments and agencies, and regulatory agencies. We remain committed to working with allies, partners, and the broader digital asset community to shape the future of digital asset systems in a manner that is safe, inclusive, and consistent with our democratic values. As this ecosystem evolves, so too will our approach. According to two of Biden's advisors, the new executive order would establish a national strategy for handling digital assets and put the U.S. in a leading role for domestic and international innovation. Since cryptocurrency remains on an expanding path, the executive order is aimed at addressing the need to expand access to safe and affordable financial services while reducing the costs for cross-border and domestic transfers and payments. Despite the order's scope and focus on exploration rather than direct action, DeSantis expressed concern over the impact of a centrally, federally controlled U.S. currency and what that could mean for residents. Quote, there's a difference between a decentralized digital currency, cryptocurrency like a Bitcoin, and what some are talking about doing at the federal level to convert US dollars into basically a digital currency. I think there's a lot of hazards with that and that's centrally controlled. DeSantis said, I worry about the amount of power that would give someone in a central authority to basically be able to shut off access to purchasing certain goods. We'd be in uncharted territory. According to the order, developing payment and digital assets to further adjust to meet US needs and interests will remain at the top of the country's standards, but must maintain US focus on democratic values among other needs including rule of law, privacy, and national security. He said imagining the ability of the federal government to control whether someone could participate in the US market or economy was something he was very concerned about, and mentioned giving financial institutions the ability to cut people off at the direction of the federal government could be dangerous. DeSantis said it was an initiative the state should watch closely. That said, Biden's executive order is mainly focused on adapting to changing financial practices, primarily activities involving digital assets that the president said are within the scope of existing domestic laws and regulations. The potential federal digital currency was, quote, different from things that are not run by a government agency, like a Bitcoin which is decentralized, according to DeSantis. Quote, so we will accept Bitcoin, we're working on doing that for payments in the state of Florida. But that's all we have on the topic for today. Let us know what you think of this news down in the comments. The mayor of Austin, Texas, Steve Adler, is exploring ways to accept Bitcoin as a payment method. Adler firmly believes that blockchain technology and crypto payments can change the fortunes of the city and bring in two new initiatives. The first initiative establishes Austin to promote blockchain tech that equates to equity, diversity, accessibility, and inclusion in the financial ecosystem. Adler's second initiative instructs the city manager to conduct a fact-finding study based on research on how Austin can adopt Bitcoin. These efforts from Adler might find ways for Austin residents to pay their bills with cryptocurrencies. The Environmental Conservation Committee of the New York State Assembly voted on Tuesday afternoon to move along a proposed law that would ban so-called proof-of-work cryptocurrency mining for 2 years. The bill was put together under the auspices of the State Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which mandates that New York's greenhouse gas emissions be cut by 85% by 2050, with net emissions being slashed to zero. It would effectively ban proof-of-work mining, the energy-intensive process used to secure the Bitcoin network, for a period of 2 years. The legislation still requires passage by the entire New York State Assembly and the state Senate, and then would need to be signed into law by the governor. More than $1 billion worth of Bitcoin has been removed from one of the world's leading crypto exchanges, marking the highest single-week outflow in nearly 5 years. The $1.2 billion that left Coinbase comes amid a resurgent cryptocurrency market. The price of Bitcoin is up over 7% over the last week, and could signal a significant increase in institutional accumulation and adoption. Bitcoin continues to trade within a relatively tight window between $34,000 and $44,000 USD, which it has traded between since the beginning of the year. And if you guys enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to stay up to date on all things crypto and NFT. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.